Why does the left hate AOC? That is the question on liberals' minds. On the Road DNC account, people ripped AOC to shreds, saying, "She voted for genocide, she can eat shit for all I care. Can't trust her flip-flops. How many times does she have to show the world that she is a two-faced snake before people stop falling for it? One day AOC will have always been against this. I thought they were working tirelessly for a ceasefire, and I will never forgive AOC for parroting the line, they're working hard behind the scenes for a ceasefire." Even Ilhan Omar clocked AOC, saying, "We all knew they weren't working tirelessly on a ceasefire, and it was all a lie." But liberals are still confused by the left's overwhelming rejection of AOC. Professor Andrei Pagliariani wrote, "Just wild to me that there are US leftists writing off AOC as insufficiently left-wing to earn their support for President of the United States." In fairness, I genuinely think affluent white liberals have a hard time understanding why most of us would not support AOC for president. So allow me to explain as best I can, and you may or may not agree, but at least you can understand the thinking a little bit better. The backlash to AOC did not spring out of nowhere. It's her many betrayals on Palestine, and her subservience to Genocide Joe during the Gaza Holocaust that have made lifelong ops out of former supporters. Over time, AOC has proven that when push comes to shove, she will always side with the powerful over the powerless. No exceptions. Palestine in particular has been AOC's kryptonite, the one issue that consistently exposes her as two-faced, unintelligent, and untrustworthy. Her record of betrayal on Palestine is long, but let me take you back to January of 2024. When AOC was asked if Gaza was going through a genocide.
The protests this week have called the president Genocide Joe. Some of your colleagues have accused the president of supporting genocide, including Rashida Tlaib. Do you agree with that word, genocide, that the president's been supporting a genocide, or does that go too far?
I think what we are seeing right now throughout the country is that young people are appalled at the violence and the indiscriminate loss of life. We are not just seeing 25,000 people that have died in Gaza. We are seeing the starvation of millions of people, the displacement of over 2 million Gazans. We have South Africa that has mounted a court in the ICJ. The ICJ ruled this week that Israel has a grave responsibility to prevent genocide.
But they're still determining whether it's a genocide. Do you think that
they are still determining
given that it's still under investigation?
I believe that they're still determining it.
Did you catch that? She was so scared of calling genocide a genocide, of pissing off Biden world or Democratic Party donors in her head, finally landing on saying that the ICJ was still determining it. If you follow international law, you know formal designations of genocide take years to determine, sometimes decades, and are only declared long after a genocide had already taken place. The Bosnian genocide was only formally declared a genocide by the ICJ in 2001, almost 9 years after it started. Because of this shameful performance, AOC was confronted by a Good Samaritan in New York City, who had this message for her.
People in Gaza don't get a moment of peace, and neither do people like you.
Yeah. 2 weeks later, sellout Sandy caved to overwhelming public pressure and called it, quote, an unfolding genocide. The New York Times also confirmed that Sandy alerted Genocide Joe in advance about her speech, letting him know exactly what she was going to say and how she was going to say it. She concluded that speech by saying, "This is not just about Israel or Gaza, this is about us." 3 weeks later, on Earth Day no less, AO Flippity Flop gave another speech, this time celebrating Genocide Joe. You probably don't remember it, nobody does, but you definitely remember this stupid-ass photo op she did with him from that day, wearing sunglasses and holding hands. In her speech, AO Flippity Flop thanked Genocide Joe.
This president is overseeing the single biggest federal investment in tackling the climate crisis in our nation's history. Over just the past few months, President Biden has paused new natural gas exports, vastly expanded the conservation of our public lands in Alaska, and he has overseen tens of billions of dollars in climate investments across the United States. Today also serves as a reminder of the power of organizing.
Does AOC know the kind of environmental destruction Gaza will suffer for decades because of Biden? Does she even care? According to research published in the American Journal of Public Health, cleaning up the 40 million tons of chemical and toxic waste from Biden's bombs in Gaza would take at least 15 years, with impacts on agriculture, water contamination, sewage systems, soil erosion, and wildlife lasting decades. Is that soul-crushing devastation, not to mention hundreds of thousands of people's lives lost, worth it in exchange for a few fucking solar panels? In September of 2024, AO Flippity-Flop voted yes on an ADL-sponsored resolution that defined anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. Her colleagues Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib voted no. Congressmember Tlaib said at the time, "I oppose this resolution because it embraces the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which dangerously conflates criticism of the State of Israel with anti-Semitism." Tlaib expressed concern that the resolution will be used to stifle dissent and chill free speech, especially Palestinian human rights advocacy, something apparently AO Flippity-Flop couldn't give less of a shit about. Then came this moment that will follow her to her grave.
She is working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire in Gaza and bringing hostages home.
It's exactly this kind of meaningless corporate PR speak that people find so repulsive about liberals. We are working tirelessly on getting our employees a raise. Now shut the fuck up and go back to the mines. The funniest thing about all of this is that I think AO Flippity-Flop actually thought she was serving here. She thought that just by saying the word ceasefire on stage at the DNC that she was throwing a bone to the pro-Palestine movement, that we would feel seen somehow, or even thanking her, as if empty platitudes supersede the genocidal precedents she worked tirelessly to defend. When grassroots organizations called on Biden to drop his re-election bid, Sandy told them absolutely not, that Genocide Joe was the Democrats' best chance to win. You would think after years of embarrassing herself on Palestine that she would recalibrate, read a book, or reassess how she approached it. But if there's one thing AO Flippity-Flop is immune to, it's constructive criticism. In 2025, when an amendment was introduced to strip Israel of $500 million in Iron Dome funding, AOC voted against that amendment. Congressmember Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Summer Lee all voted for it. The DSA, which helped AOC get elected, came out and condemned AOC, saying an arms embargo means keeping all arms out of the hands of a genocidal military, no exceptions. This is why we oppose Representative AOC's vote against that amendment. AO Flippity-Flop responded to the backlash, saying, "My record on Palestine speaks for itself. I'm proud of it, one of the strongest in Congress. I throw down for pro-Palestine candidates." Except even that is a lie. Just 2 months ago, AOC endorsed AIPAC Democrat Julie Johnson over her progressive primary challenger Zishan Hafiz. As one New York City DSA member wrote, "It's genuinely so embarrassing that AOC, a New York City DSA-endorsed elected official, is backing an AIPAC candidate. It's both pathetic and abhorrent on her part, really. Our chapter has needed to unendorse her for far too long. There have been too many last straws." If you were wondering why AOC would endorse AIPAC candidates over progressive primary challengers, it's because according to Politico, AOC promised her colleagues that she would not back any primary challengers against them. Keeping corrupt Democrats in power is good for her imaginary future career. So fuck the Palestinian Liberation Movement, fuck progressives, and fuck people trying to make the Democratic Party just a little bit better. Unfortunately for the biographers she hired, AOC has betrayed the left one too many times to be considered a viable candidate who could reliably turn out disaffected voters, disenchanted with the two-party system. I personally wouldn't vote for her if a gun was put to my head. The only people she excites now are the same affluent white liberals who supported Elizabeth Warren for president, who finished third in her home state, and who were all in for Kamala Harris, who lost all 7 swing states. As Democrats are privately admitting now, they didn't lose voters to Donald Trump, they lost to the couch. AOC's repeated capitulations, triangulations, and outright lies have put her at a point of no return with the pro-Palestine movement, and with voters who remember which side on the fence she fell on when it mattered. She has proven time and time again that she not only has terrible political judgment, truly the worst, but also that she doesn't have anyone's best interests at heart but her own. She isn't an icon, she isn't a legend, and she missed her moment.